Hi, my name is Cynthia Luna. I am a partner at Praxsys Leadership, and we are a coaching and a leadership development firm that supports leaders all over the world, and we're based in California. I'm coming to you in this way because we want to reach as many people with some of the learnings that we have had in the past few weeks as people are trying to lead, to do their best through the challenging times that we're living worldwide. We have businesses where the either a partial part of their workforce or the whole entirety of their workforce are working from home. We have businesses who are having to make tough decisions between the safety, keeping the safety of their people while trying to support their business in the long term. We have leaders who have had to make difficult decisions around furloughs and laying off people or cutting salaries so that the well-being of the company that they lead can't make it through these times. In addition to that, many people are working from home while they are also having to homeschool or to share workspace with their loved ones, trying to get things done and get things moving. And of course, there's some of the things that we've been hearing from our clients is also that the challenges in and the difference about how to work with teams when people are living in different circumstances. How do you coordinate as you move through this? Of course, if we mention also the individual or personal stress that people are going through as they have some concerns about their well-being or the well-being of their loved ones, or if they have had people who have been impacted by coronavirus and are either in the hospital or have had more serious consequences with it. So, all in that context, what we have seen is that our leaders are living under a tremendous amount of pressure. And what happens when we have any kind of pressure is that our nervous system starts uh, getting hyped up. And so our nervous system, if we look at this chart, has waves all day long that go up and down, right? So our nervous system might get activated if we hear a loud sound, or we see an email from a client that something that we did not expect, or your child takes a fall. So all of this hypes our nervous system, and the question is not whether our nervous system will get activated, but are you able to regulate it continuously throughout the day so that it settles down? So you might wonder, why do we even want a nervous system that settles down? And the answer is that because in order to have really good leadership, we need to be able to have a clear mind to make decisions, in particular when you're going through challenges. We have to be able to stay present to what's happening, to have a broader perspective, to be able to listen and receive what others are sharing with you, to be able to feel grounded and settled in yourself, so that then you can respond in the best way possible as a leader. And when our nervous system is activated and it goes beyond what we're looking here at the green zone, which is the zone that we're calling that has a sense of safety. When it goes beyond that, right, where we start going into the yellow zone where we have a sense of danger, our perspective starts narrowing down, and we become very focused in what's next. Um, we in order to respond to whatever is the imminent danger ahead, um, our breathing becomes shallow, right? Even so, not enough oxygen even gets to the whole body to think. We start losing the capacity to think with our whole brain. So we the frontal cortex of our brain, the front part of our brain, is what supports us in having perspective and thinking things through and understanding. So what happens is that gets shut down, and we start thinking just with the back side of the brain, which is called the reptile brain, which is our instinctual or reactive brain. So when you see someone who's under a lot of stress, you'll see them really reactive, not thinking things through, and you can even see it in the attention is very narrow, right? And that's necessary when we have an imminent threat, right? To if we are running away from danger, right? Somebody is coming at you and trying to attack you. Well, yeah, you have to concentrate and run, right? So some of that happens in our day to day as we're trying to respond to the challenges of leading. uh, Even as I'm talking about it, I can feel my own activation, like start feeling a bit more alert. And the story doesn't end there. If you get to the red zone, so it's beyond activation. It's like there's a threat, an imminent threat that has you. It can have you feel immobilized or collapsed, shut down, right? It's like too much. So some of the things that we hear in the workplace are overwhelmed, can't think. So you really, if you're leading a team, you really don't want to get to the red zone, right? So this is why our self-leadership is very important. So the question is, how do we regulate it, right? So in this chart, you'll see that when it goes high for a long period of time, then some of the feelings that might start, here we say triggered, stopped on. We have anxiety and panic, hyperactivity. Some of the things, by the way, that I keep hearing in the workplace these days. This is when you ask people, "How are you doing?" And they are answering, um, with sincerity. Some of these things keeps coming up. And when you have been in this stuck on place for a long period of time, what happens is that we collapse. We go into burnt out. So some of the things that you can see in your work after a period of time of a lot of stress is that people start feeling depressed or lethargic. There's a lot of exhaustion. So neither of those are good for business, and they are really not good for people. So the question is, what do we do about it? So we here have a model that we call the 4 human domains. And we're going to use these 4 human domains to support you in reflecting about how can you settle your nervous system throughout the day, assessing what's happening for you in these 4 human domains, and then making decisions about how can you resource yourself on each of these domains so that you can settle and lead at your best, right? So here we're working with your nervous system to learn to settle. And it's not magic. This is biology, right? So we're paying it's about our capacity to lead ourselves in order to be able to lead others. So if we start with the top domain, which is the self, right? Our thoughts, our emotions, the way in which we see the world. You can start paying attention to what are the thoughts that are prominent right now, and are they resourcing you or not? Or what are the emotions that you're having these days, and are they feeling resourcing or not? And what I'm talking about resourcing is, do you feel nourished by your thoughts, your emotions, or are you feeling drained? Do they give you energy, or do they take it away? So you just, for example, if we're having thoughts about this is the end of the world, um, it has that thought, just as I think about it, it has an emotion for me that starts bringing some anxiety. Well, it's that true, right? So if you start noticing, oh, that thought is not really supporting me, you can start looking for what are other thoughts that can support you. So, for example, I work with a company where the main leadership message these days is we are in this together. We are in this together. So, when I start thinking, oh, we are in this together, oh, I can feel a bit more space within me, right? So really analyzing what's the thinking that you're doing these days, and is it supporting you or is it not supporting you? If we move to the next domain, which is the domain of people, um, we can start looking at who are the relationships that we have around, and are those relationships supportive or draining? You can also look at the types of conversations that you're having or that you are not having. There's a lot of conversations happening these days, either by video conference or phones, or it's like people got really in the need to be in communication. So you can start thinking about which of those conversations resource you, support you, and which of those drain you or are not supportive. What's your network of support? Who do you have around that feels supportive, and who, or maybe you don't have anyone around? So you can start making decisions about, okay, once you have an assessment of that, you can see, okay, what are the conversations that I want to keep that I want to keep having, or that I would like to have, and who are the people I need to surround myself by. If we move to the next one, the behavior one, there's a whole way in which we can, the way in which we move in the world through our actions or our practices, our physical activity, can be supportive or draining as well. So one of the things that, I don't know if you'll relate to this, but one of the things that I keep hearing from our clients is that people are just working many more hours than before, because they can get off bed, start working, and not stop working until they get to bed. So that, you can see, is that supportive or not supportive, right? So you can start looking at your action orientation, and is it possible for you, if you are in this case, for example, is it possible for you to pause and take long breaks, so that this action orientation can get a breather? And to remind you, here we're looking for how to settle your nervous system so that you can make better decisions, have more perspective, be more settled and more connected, which is all necessary for good leadership. You can also look at the physical activity that you're doing or not doing. How does it support you? I have all kinds of clients who are doing all kinds of things these days, as they have adapted in their routines, from going for walks, or walking the dog, or doing cycling at home, or yoga, from videos and things like that. So you can start noticing, okay, what are the practices or the exercises that nourish me? Or maybe somebody decided, I have an example from my own life. My parents really got into making jigsaw puzzles, and that seems to really relax them. So pay attention to what practices, activities support you, resource you. And then finally, we have the fourth domain, which is the domain of the environment, the physical environment. So you can pay attention to what is your physical space, and does it feel supportive? Is it resourcing you, or is it uh, draining you, or it feels like too much, or there's a lot of noise, or whatever it is. And when you take breaks, are you in touch with nature, for example? Or do you have the tools that you need for your work? How structured, organized do you feel around it? So my invitation for all of you is to take a moment to reflect on these four domains and what feels supportive, what feels that it's resourcing you to be able to settle your nervous system and respond to these challenging times with the best leadership that you can bring. Um, a leadership that has perspective, a leadership that is connected, and a leadership that is grounded and clear. So please share this with your teams, with anyone that you find it helpful. You can even share it with your families, right? This is not only applies for you as a leader, but in everyone's life. Everyone who's a human has a nervous system. And everyone who's going through challenging times needs to learn how to support themselves so that they can self-regulate and have good responses to what's ahead. If you need to contact us, our email address is here, and we're happy to be in communication with any of you. Any questions that you have or any comments, we would love to hear. How is this for you? Either how has this time have been challenging for you, but maybe you also have good strategies to cope with it, to come back to center and to be at your best. So thank you for spending these minutes with me and with us, and we're hoping that this is supportive. And if you have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to contact us. Thank you for your time.